Okay, I hope.
Hello, 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 or should I say hello, hi, hey, and welcome to A Moment in Purpose with News on Purpose. I am your host, your favorite, the one with the mostest, Jakara Ann Holman. Today I am with my sister. I am with Miss Margaret Live. You're going to see her come up here shortly, and I'm excited to talk with my sister. We're going to talk about why she chose to leave KFAI after 4 years. And she was in a great position. She was in a position of leadership. Why would you want to leave that when you're representing, Black inclusion? There must have been something crazy, something explosive that happened to make her want to leave. So we're going to talk about that. But not only are we going to talk about the bad, what's in the past, but we're also going to talk about what my sister is doing today. But before we get into all of that, I got this countdown you got to do, and then I got this intro video. So let's get into this intro video. Okay, here we go. How you like that? You like that, don't you? You like that, don't you? Yes, I know you do, because I love it too. Not only am I going to play my intro that you love the most, but also let me let y'all listen to what I'm listening to right now. Because if you haven't caught that dual album, you're too slow. You're sleeping. You got to wake up. So let me just let you listen to what's got me going this week. If you haven't caught that dual album, the table behind him. Bang like you got a label behind him. No DJ, just Mickey Breeze. Really gotta put the label behind him. Lost himself, took an album to find him. No home run yet, it's the wind up. Gotta pay me. This is my little brother, y'all. Just tell y'all when the time up. You see my name on the lineup. You and your friend better line up. Can't put my ego in check shit. Last name West, what did you expect, bitch? Some of y'all really ain't going like this. Some of y'all want like this, like this. I can be way too modest. Just address me as your highness. 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 Some of y'all really ain't going like this. Some of y'all want like this, like this. I can be way too modest. Just address me as your highness. 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 Some of y'all really ain't going like this. Some of y'all. All right, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. That's my little brother, y'all. If you're not supporting your own team, like, that was free. It cost me nothing to play my little brother's tune and then to promote him so that he can win as well. Like, that's how easy it is to uplift and promote one another, support one another. Just like I'm actually supporting another journalist, another news personality. Like, you guys, it's really easy to like lift up your friends, to support your people, to just keep each other going, give each other that boost and that love. That's all it takes. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But how you doing today? Are you praying for Tiger Woods, who was just in a really terrible car accident? They had to use the jaws of life to get him out of that car. So make sure you do say a prayer for him. And then you guys know, let me get close. We are preparing for the George Floyd trial for the officer Derek Chauvin. So, how you feeling about that? The Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Frey Slickerick, sorry, the mayor has been doing a lot of announcements and news posts to just share how they're gearing up for this. So I'm interested to learn how you're gearing up as well, because this is going to be an iconic event, and it's taking place this March. The trials are. Not only is that happening this March, but also Breonna Taylor's Day is in March. It's March 13th. So if you have the means, if you can, maybe take a trip to Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, that is, and see our sister. Okay,
So I told you guys that I am sitting with my sister today. I'm kind of stalling because she still got her camera off, sis. There you go. Okay, there you go. So I'm sitting with my sister today, Miss Margaret of Miss Margaret Live. Miss Margaret is a voice of reason. Miss Margaret is a vessel for the voices that she needed, that I need, that we need. She is someone that used her own platform, her own experience to touch and reach the community. And that's what I love about my sis. She supported me before I knew how to support her. Like she was always lifting me up, and I'm like, why? Like we're doing the same thing. Like, don't you hate me? But she never showed me hate, always love. So I'm just so excited. I'm gonna play this little clip from sis, and then we're gonna bring her up after this. But you need to know why she do this.
I started my show for two reasons. One, when I was younger, when I was a little girl, I wish that I had somebody who was like me, who was on air, who was a public figure, talking about the things that I was going through.
We all need that, don't we? Yes. So I'm so excited to bring up this personality to share with us just how she decided to leave KFAI after 4 years and how she is going to continue Miss Margaret Live. Because if you're going to be the voice for us, we need you to keep being the voice. Like, what you doing? You can't sit quiet. Like, sis, come on. Hey, sis.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, boo. I can hear you.
Praise God.
Look at you with them glossy lips.
Girl, I had to get it together because that was not the situation about 15 minutes ago. That's when you was like, can you do 8:30? I was like, nah, because I can't find. I had to find the gloss. I had to find my hair. I had to find my wine. So, but we've been talking about this for a while.
Yes.
Too. Actually, no one probably knows when I decided to leave KFAI, you were the only media person that I said anything to.
Really?
Yeah, you were like immediately that morning. Remember, I hit you up like
I
early.
remember, and then you made the announcement. Wow.
Yeah, no, you were the first person because I was like, okay.
Since your volume went out.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay, I'm gonna try to stay close because I think when I back up, it does something weird. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you clear.
Oh, okay.
It's good. You sound good. You sound beautiful and lovely.
So one, I was like, who can I trust? But two, I wanted to also give like the opportunity to someone who is starting out, who is building their brand, who is a Black woman in media, because as you said, you're like, well, I mean, it is a competitive market. Like, we're not gonna lie, it is competitive. But we're very outnumbered in this game. You know what I mean? People are always acting like you gotta like link up with a man, or you gotta be, men are always kind of they're very dominant in this game, and they act like women can't do it. Women can't, do what they do or whatever. So I think it's very important for us women to stick together, because honestly, a lot of the horror stories I've had about working with folks in this business deals with men. Like,
wow.
You know what I mean? Most of the good experiences has been with women. So for me, I'm like, okay, I'd rather at this point really invest in other women as they have invested in me, And I think this is the time where people are finally realizing, like, yeah, we need to listen to Black women and follow Black women. And as Black women, it's like I said, the genre is competitive, but as long as it's healthy, then what's wrong with that? You can still uplift and be like, dang, you know what I'm saying? Look, let me fix these glasses, honey. Hold on.
You're going to have to.
Hold on, wait a minute. I might just take them off and just be blind this whole interview. I'm going to fix it.
Take them off. Take them off. We
gonna try.
You ain't even got to read nothing. There you go. Show them pearly eyes.
But so that's why I was like, I'm gonna hit her up, but you also like were along the way though the whole time. I was telling you like, this is what's going on, like even before I even got to the point of like, okay, let's do this interview. I was just telling you that this is what's happening as someone also in media. So yeah.
Told me to stay my ass away.
Huh?
I said you was letting me know to stay clear away because this ain't that. It sounds good and cute and everything that glitter ain't gold.
It's unfortunate, but I also look at it as I was already at that place before any of this happened where I knew I was going to be transitioning into something else, and I didn't think that this was going to be the turning point. I didn't think it was going to be like this,
Right.
but I mean, maybe I feel like that's what it took because I was very comfortable where I was. I was very like, okay, well, like I don't have to like work as hard as some other people because I'm in this built-in audience. But that just kept me comfortable. It didn't make me. And then when it got really toxic too, I didn't even want to show up to do the show. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm.
was like, I don't even want to like give them that. They don't even deserve this content. I don't want to lead other black and brown bodies into this space when
Mm.
here I am feeling like, how the hell am I about to get out of this? Like, how does that make sense?
Right. We gonna dig. We getting so deep into it already. Okay, sis, let's take it back. Let's take it back so we can get up into
I
it.
can't help it.
It's okay. It's okay. First of all, we can't even get into like the hard stuff, the heavy stuff, without first like appreciating where we are. Like it's Black History Month, baby. We gotta celebrate that.
hmm I feel like as I've gotten older, Black History Month is definitely like when you're younger, it's all about learning about the history, and I think it's
Right.
still about that. But for me, I kind of looked at like, how am I going to celebrate myself
Mm.
during this? Like, how am I going to really pour into myself? Because throughout history, we know we're not taught that. We're always just doing everything for everyone else. I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to sit down and read like a bunch of literature and stuff. Like, here's my top 10 Black history, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I would love to say that I did, but I didn't. So I thought, okay, how could I go about this a different way? What would my ancestors want me to do? Probably take care of myself
Mm.
for once,
Yes.
So I had to do that. So I'm glad we made it happen during this month because this is some Black history.
Yes, it is. We are Black History. I'm gonna wind this up so you can see us. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. Now you can see us and be all pretty folk with us. Yes, and I mean you have a son as well, so you got to teach him about Black history. But somebody said this Black History Month has been emphasized because of Trump. I don't know who this is, and I hope they're not getting crazy. I'm gonna keep going. BLM, girl, you BLM, the election, the police, etc. Okay, I'm enjoying the awareness. Okay, thank you, Sly Jones. I was scared for a minute. I almost didn't want to keep reading that comment. He said, okay, salam, namaste, what up? All right, you guys. So I'm reading the comments. Thank you guys for watching with us. Feel free to comment. Feel free to be a part of the discussion. So
Yeah, it.
what?
Nothing.
You was about to say something, then you held back. Say it.
Well, no, because I was trying to elaborate on what the comment meant. Because I'm trying to like what like what do you mean by that comment that was amplified by Trump?
Okay, let me go back. Let me read it again. It says, this Black History Month has been emphasized because of Trump. Black Lives Matter. Oh, that's what be up. Black
It went
Lives
on to
Matter,
say that.
the
Oh,
election, the police, etc. I'm enjoying the awareness. Sly, if you can
okay.
please elaborate on that more, we would love to get into that conversation. If you're open to it, please,
I
Sly,
heard it as like
elaborate.
two different comments. So now I get the Trump part threw me off. But what I can definitely say is that this Black History Month has definitely hit differently than others. You know what I mean? And I mean I think it's because for me there's so many things I think we thought we left in history,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're seeing our own version of the movement
Mm.
that we thought so many of us thought we were so far from.
Right.
Um, and so I can agree that a lot of the stuff, yes, it has amplified it. It has hit a lot differently. But it's still, I'm not gonna lie. I really didn't see it amplified enough. I honestly can't say that I saw it like this as big as I thought it was gonna be because of everything. I don't really feel like it was amplified much differently than what I've seen before,
Mm.
or just personally, which is problematic in itself. But
Yeah.
you
That's
know,
true. Slide decided to elaborate. Slide said, "We are coming together to fight a common foe. It hits different. That's what I meant. Smiley face. Thank you, Sly. Because it was the Trump part that threw me off.
It threw us
You
off.
can look at it so many different ways. Like Trump brought us together. Yes, and you know, it's that it was that deliberate and that outright hatred that, you know, just was like uncovered, that was like blatant, that just really kind of showed us that we had to like bound together in order to like get him out and then to move in a different direction. So I see what you're saying, Slide.
I
It
get
took
it
some
now.
time for it to click.
You know what? As you say Trump, I'm like, huh?
Right? I was like, you about to go there.
I said, no, what you talking? No.
I was about to Slide. You was about to get thrown out. I didn't know which way that was going. I almost started reading after it come. I got like tongue tied and everything. You had me.
You said, and in my mind, I'm going, Margaret, do you want to go there? No, don't go there. No, I want to go there. I want to go there right now.
Slide, thank you so much for your
glad
comment.
You're here.
Slide said white supremacy got exposed. You're right. It definitely did. People's true colors got exposed. But you know, sis, you said something. You said, you know, some things happened, some changes were made, but maybe not enough. And that's a great point, because I was thinking how in the beginning, like Aunt Shemama was saying that they were going to change the brand, and I'm like, well, it ain't happened yet. And then finally, you know, they change it over. And so it's things like that where all these businesses, sometimes it's kind of like, now, are they jumping on the bandwagon, or are they really for us? Because all these businesses are like, pro-Black, let's support you, let's celebrate you. And I'm like, but you ain't never did that before, you know?
But and where are they now?
Right. Now
where
it seems like things are like simmering down.
How are they going to support the Black community as we have to relive all this trauma and be triggered by what we just went through some months ago? How are you going to support the community during that? Are you going to put your Black Lives Matter post up again? Starbucks? Are you going to do all that BS? And then what did you do? No, there were some companies that put their money where their mouth was. We saw, but it wasn't enough. Most of them just put their little post up. Okay, what does that mean to me?
Right.
You know, where are they now? That's always been the problem with Black issues. It's only relevant when it's popular. You know what I mean? Watch this man get tortured, you know what I mean, in broad daylight in the middle of the street for y'all to care about something that's been going on forever. You know what I mean? And that's always the issue. That's why you have to form platforms like this, you know, because mainstream doesn't give the time to tell those stories. They don't give once it's not popular anymore, then they move on to the next thing. Right. So, you know, it's still a lot of work to be done, but that's why we do this type of stuff.
Everybody wants to jump on something while it's trending. Sly, you are sliding through these comments, tearing it up. I'm glad we cleared that up. I was going to ask you to post a link. Forced inclusion sells. Last time it was, I don't know what that say. It was LGBT. Now it's Black women. He or she who wins the election gets the attention. You're right, Sly. Thank you for that comment. I'm so happy that we're having this talk. And, you know, we were talking about why you left radio, but, you know, whatever is current is what we need to be talking about. So, yes, absolutely. We want to challenge these businesses. We're calling you out. We're saying, yeah, you showed up when, you know, things were hot. And now that they're not, like, what's happening? Like, what are you going to do to still show support? If, depending on how this trial go, if he is convicted or not, like, how are you still going to, like, feed the Black community and show us support? You know, let's not let it just be a one-time thing. Let's keep it going.
Like the fact that it's an if, you know what I mean? That right there is so triggering and traumatic in itself. The fact that it's an if. I mean, I think particularly because like this is the trial of the century, right? But we've been at this point before when we thought, like with Philando, that was supposed to be the one. And to be here now, it's so many different emotions, you know, it's like, I don't even know. It's a lot, you know, it's a lot. And then to not really know how, like you said, we don't really know how it's going to go even before we get to a verdict. Like, we don't know how this trial is even going to play out. Like, depending on what happens in the trial, what the reactions will be. And then you already have Walt's self. I was gonna say something else, but Walt, you know, you know, always got the National Guard on call. It's just like, Like mm, they be trying to set people up. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
We gonna leave it at that. And listen, Mama, Miss Margaret, this is why we need you back. Because see, this is the thing. Like, sis talk about real ish. Like, sis really be challenging social issues. Sis like bring it to the forefront. It's not celebrity gossip and hot dish. Like, that's not what she's talking about on her platform. If you listen to Miss Margaret live, she's talking from her own experience. She's telling you, you know, things about mental health awareness from her own experience and bringing that to light. So, like, you know, we just not here cuckooing and kikiing and ha. You know, as Black women in this community, like we really have, you know, a place that we're trying to find and understand if this support that is being shown to us is legitimate. And that's why y'all need to keep listening so y'all can hear what's happening with Miss Margaret Live so you can get this real scoop, this real ish. Because yeah, sometimes y'all like it be so much going on that we just be like, not today. Like I can't even show my face today. I can't even like y'all can you my thing say every week, every Wednesday I'm supposed to give you an episode. Listen. Mental health is real. We got to work on that. You know, we can't show up as our true selves unless we work on mental health, unless we feel supported and have what we need to do that.
There's a lot of pressure to do these shows. Just like I just put out there, like people I don't think realize, like they think people just like hop on a camera and just scream and just talk. Like it's a lot of pressure to put on a show, to think of these ideas, to think of how you're gonna capture an audience and keep them engaged, and then the consistency of it's a lot, and it can really get to you, you know. So that's why I'm so big on like shouting out my people. You know, I'm always like, do this, do that, because I know how stressful it can be, and you can get in the mode where it's like, man, I can't even, you know what I mean? You need people to remind you, like, no, you know, you got this. We need you to do it, you know, and we support you. Anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
No, it's important because we need this. We need you. We are needed, like, you know, and even when I get discouraged, I remember that there is so many people lifting me up when I was at my height. And so that's what I do it for. Because it does get tough. And like Sis said, like, you guys, we don't just turn on the camera and show up. Like, this actually takes preparation. It actually takes like having like an actual outline, agenda, plot, all of that. Like, I sent Sis questions before this. Like, we've been, you know, this didn't just happen. Flyers, all of that. Like we put in work for this, you know. So please continue to support and show love. Speaking of support and showing love, Sis, what's your Cash App?
Miss Margaret Live.
Say
Cash
again.
App, Venmo, PayPal, it's all the same. Miss Margaret Live.
All right, and I am at News on Purpose. So if you want to show love and support in that way, feel free to do so. Plug. Sorry, just threw that in. So speaking of, you know, how it does definitely take work to get here. Sis, you've been on the radio for 4 years with KFAI. Tell me, like, first, how did you even get your start in radio?
Yeah, so I started with WFNU. So I've been in radio since about 2006, 15, 16. So I started there. They were a brand new station. Um, and it was crazy. So even when I was younger, like a little kid, I used to make I used to make these like mock radio shows. Okay, so you know like the boom boxes you used to be able to carry around, and you could have your CD player at the top and the tape at the bottom, so you could record the CD, you know, thing. So I would like record a song and songs, and I would talk in between. I don't know what I called myself, probably Royale. I had something weird with the name Royale. That was like supposed to be my alias. Anyway, and I probably said something like it's Royale, whatever. And then I would play them in the car, like for my friends. I wouldn't tell them that it was me. I would just be like, oh yeah, like this radio show, they got all the good music. So, but then it wasn't like I knew radio was something I wanted to do. I didn't think of it at the time of like this is it. Like, you know, I just knew that for me, I just felt for some reason very comfortable being myself, because I guess in radio it's like it's your own world. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you could be by yourself or it's whoever you want to be there. And there's kind of like that shield, so you don't, normally you're not worrying about like who's looking in, or it's not about how you look. It's about what you have to say. And so I think I resonated with that. Um, then, and then I went to Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. I studied music business there.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, so
Look, everything coming out. What?
I used to tell people, I was like, I just knew I was going to be the younger version of Missy Elliott. Like, I was like, I want to be a producer, songwriter, all that, like finger waves and all. And so Nashville, Music City, I wanted to go to HBCU and then, Music City. So I did that. So I was working for a country music label for a short period of time. I had like a short stint with Neo. So I was always like dabbling in the industry, you know what I mean? And I wanted to be a songwriter more so at that time. Anyway, I was working in Nashville. After I graduated, got laid off, came back to Minnesota. So after I had my son in 2014, um, I'll never forget 2015. It was like July. And I remember like standing in my living room and just, I think a lot of times after you have a baby, you're like, you gotta like rediscover who you are. You're a whole different person. You're not the person you were before. And I knew I wasn't doing what I really wanted to do. I was working, I was in corporate, so like, my check was cool, but I knew I didn't want to do that forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember praying to God, like I remember just saying, God, please get me back into radio. How that came in my mind, I don't know. Like I said, it was never a thing of like, this is what I want to do. But for some reason, that was it, what I prayed to God for, something that I felt like would kind of take me out of this depression or just whatever. The next
Mm.
day, one of my best friends came over. She's like, "Yeah, so I'm gonna be on the radio. There's this new station called WFNU, and I'm being on the radio." And I was like, "What? Like, you gonna be on the radio?" I'm like, "You don't even talk like that. Like, how?" So I was like, well, if you gonna be on the radio, because she's a DJ. So I was like, at first I'm thinking like talk radio. I'm like, how are you going? So then I was like, okay, well, if you got a radio show, then I definitely need to be a radio show because I be running my mouth like it ain't nothing. So they had at the time you had to like go to these trainings and stuff to do it because they were a brand new station. And I remember I contacted them. They said they were full. Like,
Mm.
oh, and I was like, well, I'm coming anyway. So I showed up and they took me and I was hanging with them for like 6 months before I actually did a show
Mm.
because I was just I'm scared. I didn't really I hadn't really figured out what I wanted the show to be. I thought it was gonna be called a whole different name, like Margaret in the City or something. Girls, I was like watching like a marathon of Sex in the City or something,
I'm
and
trying to imagine that.
it was supposed to be like me going around basically talking about like different events and stuff or whatever, but it just wasn't sticking. Like, how like you have an idea there's a part of it that you like I knew I liked having my name in the title, and then somehow Miss Margaret Live came to me, and so that's how I got into radio was through WFNU, and I credit them a lot for this show because if it was not for WFNU, I would literally not have the show. They were the ones who pushed me to like Margaret, I mean, they let me hang around for like 6 months, and I wasn't, I wasn't doing a show, but they were just always inviting me to come speak at stuff. I didn't even have a show yet. I'd show up to things like to panels, like, yeah, I don't have a show yet. I don't know what's gonna be called, and I don't know what it's gonna be about, but I'm interested in talking about Black issues, like But like, so I credit them a lot because I still work with them to this day, and so that's how the show came to be. And then at that time, you have to like go back to that time. This was like around time when Jamar Clark had been murdered, like probably within the same maybe like a couple months before. So
Mm-hmm.
at that time, there was just a lot of conversations that hadn't really been like popular before. And so my first episode was about that with my girl Wintana. She's just amazing. It would take me forever to run down her resume. Anyway, so she got on my show and she just broke it all the way down, talking about voter suppression, all these things that people were like, wow, I didn't know that. And then after that, I was like telling my mom, like, I don't want people to think we're always gonna be talking about deep stuff on the show. Like, I don't, we'll talk about lighthearted stuff, but then when I was thinking of the content, I always kept wanting to talk to the underdog. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I was like, okay, I could talk to this, whatever, but I want to talk to that person who's going through it. I want to talk
Mm.
to the person who everyone's saying like, oh no, they shouldn't have this right, they shouldn't have this right. It doesn't even matter to you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't even want to talk to the expert. I want to talk to the person outside, you know what I'm saying, who's sleeping in the tent, who no one cares to talk to. That's who I want to
Mm-hmm.
talk to. So that is how the show really came to be. And then I got on KFAI about 2 years after that, or a year after that, or something like that.
Nice. We
Yeah.
have some questions. Slide Jones, we love you, Slide. Slide.
What's up?
Slide mentioned while we were talking about, look, oh, you ain't tell me you was
Oh,
bringing wine.
I thought I said that. Yeah, girl. I had to.
It's
I was
okay. I had some
nervous.
Moscato before I came here.
Next
I went
time,
out for a
next
drink.
time. Next time we'll make sure we coordinate it.
Okay. So Sly said, I like seeing more Black women in non-traditional roles like in science fiction and drama. He said, Miss Margaret, do you have an IG? I am trying to break into radio and I need help. What's your IG, love?
Listen, don't hit me up through the IG. I mean, I hit me up on Facebook. Like my IG, I don't know what it is. Okay, I know what it is. I'm not like a picture person, like a poser, like you know what I mean. And so
Mm-hmm.
that always kind of like slows me down with Instagram because I'm always thinking too hard about it. I tell myself I'm gonna get better every year, but Facebook is where I'm at. Like Facebook, hit me up through there because IG. I might see it. I might not, but definitely people who want to get into radio and stuff like that is always a conversation that I'm down to have because it's a
Yes.
lot easier than you probably. Well, I mean, it's a lot easier when you actually get into it. You're like, oh, if I would have known this the whole time, like you know what I mean. So I'm happy to share the knowledge.
Yes. So you went from one platform and then you found your way to KFAI. So what was it about this platform that intrigued you originally to join?
So KFAI, it was always like a dream of mine to be at KFAI. I remember saying in 2000, it probably was 16 or something in a meeting. And some KFAI folks were there. I was still at WFNU at the time. I remember saying to my friend, I'm going to be on KFAI. And yeah, I just said, like, I was just so certain. Like, you couldn't, because in my mind, KFAI was like the mecca of like community radio. Some
Mm.
people might say like an NPR, but I don't really consider it. Anyway, um, KFBI to me it was like the mecca, and so they've been around for over 40 years. I mean, they've been around for a long time. They have a very wide reach, kind of because of all the people that have come through the doors. So it was just always a goal of mine, and I liked what I felt like they represented. My friend who really kind of reeled me in, my friend Quinn, Shimmer Via Gomez. She has a show on KFI Fresh.
Love her.
So, Quinn, she's a Latina trans woman, and she's the one who really, really kind of pulled me into everything KFI. So I love the fact that they were a station that had a space, you know what I mean, for trans women and for
Mm-hmm.
marginalized communities, because you don't see that. You really don't see that. So that spoke a lot to me. And then I met a lot of people that I felt like were great people. So I was excited. I mean, the thing about too is like when people were asking me like, or when I was talking about leaving, people were like, well, why are you like scared to go, or why don't you just whatever? I'm like, you gotta think about this. Is like leaving kind of like a record label. You know what I mean? Like it going independent. You're coming from like a kind of a well-oiled machine that's been around for a while, and
Mm-hmm.
if you got the setup there, you've got the whatever. You don't have to worry about certain things. But yeah, so it was like a literal dream of mine, and it was for a while a really great experience. You know what I mean? I've done I don't even know how many interviews through there. It's so crazy because I'm still cool with so many people from there even after
Good.
blasting them. So yeah, it was good for a long period of time.
So there was a time where you did feel supported?
Yes, I mean particularly
Okay.
I would say but the general manager who brought me to the station, Leah Hunsky, that was like my ace, like my go-to. Like anything I wanted to do, she was like, "We gonna do it." She was always understanding what I was going through. So I definitely felt supported by her. I feel like after she left, um,
Who is
well,
it?
huh?
Who is she?
Leah Hunsky, she was the general manager when I came to KFAI.
Okay, so
So
let's pick up. She was good, Leah. When Leah was there, it was like this.
she was great for me. You know
Okay.
what I mean? I could speak just from my experience. She was great for me. I feel like at the time the station was much more bigger on like I just feel like we were much more connected, Even before COVID, we were disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
But so she for me was great. Um, a lot of people were great and still are great. I mean like the issue started when I got more in a leadership role.
Right. And what role did you hold?
I was the vice president of the board. I joined the board, or I was elected to the board. Let's see, 2019 or something like that. And then the fall of 2019, and then I became the vice president around maybe March 2020, I think, something like that. And then that was when things just started getting real.
Because now you were getting to see behind the scenes. Like now you're getting to see like, who's really orchestrating the system and pulling the strings. Like when you're just, a personality, everything is cool, because you don't have any leadership or responsibility, but to do your station. But then when you get in the position with the actual like decision makers and you're like, y'all ain't really making decisions that are in the betterment of the community. Like, what's really going on?
I remember one time asking at the time that there was the interim GM.
Mm-hmm.
I remember asking him one time, like, do you even like the programmers? Because what you send out in your emails is not the same tone that you carry in these meetings. And that was when I started really being like, so what the hell is going on here? Because that energy carries into the studio. People pick up that energy. You could feel it, like you're like something, ain't right here. But I walked in this. I remember it was like it was 3 times before that particular general manager said anything to me. And at that point, I had been at the station for at least like a couple of years, and I would come to still do my show. He like didn't like I just didn't exist, didn't care. It wasn't
What?
until like he didn't care. It wasn't until someone else like spoke to me, like the board president then at the time. And then I guess he decided I had value. So I mean it was like, things like that. Or like I know like even like my friend who's still there, so I won't whatever, but talked about the same level of treatment. Another brown marginalized person, you know what I mean, and them just not speaking to them or them just not ever acknowledging the things that they do. So it was like stuff like that, that I think a lot of times you don't look at it as big as it is until you reflect on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so when I got on the board, the reason why people wanted me on the board is because they wanted me to interrupt the pattern. I just didn't know what the pattern was. I didn't, what I mean? No one like said,
You was set up, sis.
here's a bunch of F-ish, like it's going on. You know what I mean? Like I just was like, okay, like I know I called, whatever out. Like I was coming in thinking I was kind of coming from a perspective of a host. You know what I'm saying? Keep in mind, none of us are paid to do our shows.
Mm.
Let's be clear. I had to hustle in other ways and use my name to get revenue. You know what I mean?
Mm.
By doing gigs and stuff. But it was like I didn't know what that meant. Now I know what my purpose was for joining the board, which was exposing all this stuff. Um, but yeah, I definitely after everything was said and done, felt like I got set up. Like, dang, I didn't know all this was going on. Ugh.
So what was it for you? What was that final straw that made you say, I can't deal with this anymore? Because when you left, hold on, speaking of radio, like, sis, you left with a wave. You left with a bang. Like when you left, it just seemed like this pyramid that everyone idolized, this institution or installation that everyone idolized and looked to as like, that's where I want to be. That's where I see, as, the goal, KFAI. Like, just things just started to crumble and people were, being spotlit for like their negativity, their racism. Like when you left, like shit hit the fan.
And I think the thing is it was a boiling, like things have been happening. So that's why, like, when I left, that's why you see other people in the comments being like, "Yeah, see, I knew all about that. That's why I had to go." Or, "Yeah, that week it was 3 women of color, including myself, who resigned from the board within like 48 hours. Like it was back to back to back. Um, and so for me, um, what broke the camel's back was the Lydia Howe situation.
Mm.
But it
Tell
started
us about that. What
but it
happened?
started before that. So just quickly, as far as with the VP situation, everything was cool, and then when I became VP, it was like everything was not cool. Like there's a black VP before me who abruptly resigned. Never knew why. There was another black VP before me who also left. Never really knew why, right? So I come on just not knowing anything, just looking dumb as hell. And when that came on, then I started seeing, okay, so this is why, I wasn't being included in a lot of things, being left out of like a lot of conversations. Like I was like, I wouldn't know how to run a meeting. If the president was out, I wouldn't know how to do anything. And it was just like it was just like a lot of things where it's like, why would I not be included in this? They would be meeting with like the general manager every week. Never once was I ever included in any of these meetings. And it was like this treatment that I had heard about past vice presidents receiving before. So that was a part of it.
Mm.
But before we even got to the Lydia Howe situation, and I'm like, oh God. Because people are gonna be like, what? So before we even got to Lydia Howe, we had a situation. And I could talk about it because it's public, you know.
Mm-hmm. You see me
uh,
leaning in, sis. Come on, you taking a deep breath. Just say it.
because it's like
I'm about to
to,
put you on full screen, so it's
to,
just you, your moment.
yeah, you ain't got to even repeat it. We had a situation with a programmer. I was on Facebook one day, and a friend of mine was like, "Who still listens to Cafe I?" And I'm like, "No, I'm like, hello." They had been on my show and everything. So I'm like, "What do you mean you listen to Cafe I?" They're like, "Well, what's up with such and such?" There's a certain person who's with the station. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, here we go. Because this was not the first time that things have come up with this person having issues, and particularly issues that had to deal with Black and brown volunteers and programmers and stuff. So I inboxed the person. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, this person's saying something said some racist stuff, blah blah blah. So anyway, what happened was there was a programmer that got into it with a staff member over some content.
I'm letting
And
it be about you, sis.
about some can you still hear me? Let me know if you can, because I feel like I can't. Let me know if you still hear me. It's like Jones, what's the car?
I
Can
can hear
can you
you
still?
clearly. I can hear you
Oh,
clearly.
okay.
Go
I'm
ahead.
like, I don't know, because it kind of talking went out. Okay, so they got into it with the staff member, and it was about like their content or what have you, and they're basically like, well, why can't I get this certain content, why can't I get this certain material, whatever. And the person the basically they're like, it wasn't an issue before for me to get this back some months ago, which back like in May. And the response that they got from the staff member was, well, you only got your show back because George Floyd died, or because George Floyd was murdered. And I don't know if I conveyed this enough. This was a black programmer that was talking to a white staff member, and this white staff member tells them that basically the only reason why we um, gave you this opportunity is because this black man was murdered, and we felt like we had to. So even just saying that, it's like I have to sit with it for a moment, because when I heard that, it was like so many things. One, let's just to stop on that alone before we get into how the problematic parts that came from it. Um, this is what happens to Black people all the time whenever we bring up issues. It's deeper than, oh, this is what they said. It's the fact that this happens all the time where Black issues are only important on a time frame when people decide, oh, we're going to care about this for this amount of time. So when you say something like it's that person, it's that reinforcement. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we only care when it's popular. Oh, you should be like thankful or grateful, like kind of like little Black girl, little Black boy, that we're giving you this is how that sounds when you say something like that. And it was said in a way to shut down the conversation, to put the person in their place, and that's exactly how they felt about it. So um I like, was I immediately knew that it was something that I was going to have to be involved in, because I knew that if it went to the board leadership, like the board president, nothing was going to go there, because their concern is always saving face with KFAI. You know what I mean? There's been other issues. Issues that come up before, particularly by like brown programmers, that go nowhere. But you might have issues that come up from white people who aren't even with KFAI, and they'll jump on that quickly. So I knew that with this issue, had to jump all over it, and they were trying to make the individual go through this whole grievance process. We can go into that later. Um, After that happened, we had a community meeting, and everybody was there, including the staff member who the issue was with, and the programmer who the issue was with, and like their people. Basically, it got brought up in the meeting, and the board president, like, as the man was trying to explain himself in a very calm way, explain the situation that happened, she jumps on, no, we're not going to talk about that, blah blah blah, just completely like white women violence, silencing. Like, you could have just waited and let him explain the situation, how it harmed him, how it triggered him, how it made him feel, and let him explain that, and then you could come in and said, hey, um let's have a sidebar about this, blah blah blah. No, she had to shut it down. And then of course people were like, oh, you're just going to silence him like that. It just spun completely out of control. So then the next day we had a meeting, and the board president was just, it's like, so we just said, this man said to this man, you only got your show back because of George Floyd. And the only thing that you could talk about is in defense of the staff member who harmed the programmer. Keep in mind, there is no KFAI without the programmers, right? So her whole defense was about him, and about how he might have been triggered from the situation and all this type of stuff. And I'm like, basically, I'm just like, this has been going on for years. This has been a problem, um, problem for years. And she was not interested in actually fixing the situation, actually holding the person, accountable. She was just interested in saving face, for KFAI. And while we were in the process, because there was a lot more that was said in that conversation. Like, she told me it didn't matter that I was vice president. Um, a lot of things. Um, and after that, myself and kind of the grievance chair were trying to take it on and really not let the situation fall into her hands, because they're making this person go through this whole grievance process that they really only uphold in certain situations. I've seen plenty of situations where people will make a complaint and they don't have to go through the grievance process at all. You can guess what those people look like. But then other ones is, oh nope, gotta go through the grievance process, which really the grievance process is the last resort. And then the board president, every time we kind of get somewhere with the grievance process, they try to throw a monkey wrench in it, try to take control of it. Oh, we're gonna do the process this way now, or we have to do this and this step. Where were all these steps before for other issues? So as that issue we were working on that, then Lydia Howell happened. And I told them, if this doesn't go right, I remember it was like a Monday, if this doesn't go right, I'm going to leave. They knew it. They knew I was going to leave. They knew I was going to leave. And yeah. I gotta take a break on that, because it's so much. It's like, whoo. Anybody have any questions? I'm like, hold on, let me take a quick break from the story, because it's a lot. The Lydia Howell thing is a lot to unpack.
Let me look for questions. You know I got some if don't nobody else do.
Yeah.
So, well, let me look for questions first, and then I'm gonna say what I gotta say. Hold on. Let me see if anybody else got any questions. Slide. Slide got questions. Because there was so much that happened and so many discussions around it. How even when they did take Lydia off for her, racist comments, just the way that they said that she was going to be replaced. A statement was made that the slot would be filled with community voices, and then it was changed to BIPOC voices. Like what does this even mean? Like again, trying to like fit the mold and trying to act like you're there for us and you're here, but really not.
But they had told us that it couldn't be guaranteed to be filled with BIPOC voices. That was what we were told. Those of us, women of color, who took the time to give a damn about the situation and meet on it. Okay, and keep in mind, when I called the meeting and I said to the general manager and everyone, I do not want the board president involved in this because I know if it falls in their hands, nothing will come of this. Nothing, And so that was one of the things with that was, okay, let me say this. The general manager did not understand. They're not experiencing community radio at all, right? Community radio, the community literally runs the station. What the community wants runs the station. If you're not representing or appeasing the community that you claim to represent, there is no station, right? So that whole community voices BIPOC thing came from the fact that the community had written their specific demands of what they wanted from the situation. Her being suspended, it being filled with BIPOC voices. Then there was the other set that a lot of people didn't see, that was they wanted KFI to release their ethical practices. They wanted KFI to talk about like their disciplinary policies and stuff like that, because we had seen, we had new instances of Black and brown programmers being kind of disciplined faster or more harshly compared to other people. There was like all of these different demands, and as you see in the statement, there's only maybe like 2 demands or whatever. And I sent you what the original statement looked like versus the one that came out.
Right.
Very different. Very different. And that was the thing that didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, how are you a station that makes money off of the fact that you're primarily uplifting BIPOC voices, but you can't guarantee the community that this slot will be filled by BIPOC voices, which is what they asked for? No, because they wanted to play hardball. They didn't want the community to feel like they had that much power. It was like, well, I want to make this more about like doing what's quote unquote right, not about the demands. This is the general manager saying this. And I'm like adhering to the demands, it's doing what's right. Like, what are we not? If you're not doing what the community is asking, then you're not doing what's right. They want to try to like approach it like a corporate level or like you some big boss. Like, I ain't gonna give in to them. I ain't gonna. Yeah, then everything exploded. So
the negotiation was off. I remember Felicia Perry sharing that she had, some demands that were not met, but still she had like this person reaching out to her, coming to her job, like messaging her on personal and business emails, trying to like say faith and say, I don't have a racist bone in my body. Like, how can I support you? Just let me know. Felicia shared the email with me. She was like, I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just asking for book titles for you to share with me so that I can be enlightened and I can know how to like open my mind. And Felicia was like, lady, you are harassing me. Please leave me alone. So I guess the sentiment here that we're saying is, public radio and community radio, we're saying if you say that you're for the community, then the voices should come from the community. Like there should be some input that you take into consideration when the community are asking you for certain things to feel, supported and considered, as well as, like this is actually for us. We understand that, not everything can get done at one time, but definitely the community want to feel heard and supported.
But let's be clear.
Question. Go ahead.
Let's be clear. Lydia Howell continued to harass Felicia Perry after that. So for people, if you think about putting her back on air and you think she's all reformed. Hell no, she's not. Because after Felicia told her to leave her the F alone, Lydia came back and was talking about, you don't even know what violence is. You don't know what trauma is. Typical white woman violence BS. And was saying all this crazy stuff to her. See, that part didn't get out there, Lydia. We gonna put because a lot of y'all white women aren't gonna be able to say that type of stuff to us and think we just gonna take it and just be like, no, Lydia, I have the email too. Don't try. Anyway, next.
Okay, moving on. So we do have a question. Someone said, I don't want to say your name wrong, so I'm not going to say. I'm going to call you C. Hey, C, thank you for joining us. C said, what other Black and brown female journalists do you recommend we follow and support?
Well, obviously News on Purpose.
Yes, Miss Margaret Live.
Georgia
Ford. Did we say that at the same time?
Yeah.
Georgia Ford. She just started Black Press. So if you, yes. I'm about to tag into her like, sis, how can I be a part of that? Yeah. She just started Black Press. She announced that on her birthday. Georgia Ford is someone that has some skin in this game and has been doing it for a long time. She has awards and accolades under her name. You give credit where credit is due. You know, Georgia Ford is someone that came before me. I've met her a few times. I text her questions sometimes. I'm giving credit. Georgia Ford is someone that you definitely want to pay attention to. She is someone that really gets into the streets. Right now, for some time, she was actually paying attention to like the Georgia Ford. Somebody said Georgia. Okay, Slide said light skin, real pretty eyes. I think she
Yep, that's
but
true.
That's her.
That's her.
Curly hair.
Yeah, the thing about Georgia though too is the fact that she's also not afraid to share her knowledge. I mean, you know what I mean? Like we've been able to have, conversations and her just sharing her knowledge with me, and she's got the story as well. Like, you know what I mean? Of what, having to branch out on your own because of some BS. And that's a story that so many Black journalists have, particularly Black women, having to leave these toxic situations. But I feel like you always win in the end. You think that you need these outlets, but you really don't.
Yeah.
You just need you.
There you go. You just need you and a team that can get behind you and genuinely support. Slide said, wow, she's from my hometown, small world. They lived here and she was a local anchor on WTVM. Nice. Hey, sis, we got to ask you if at all, anything at all that could be done in a perfect world. Is there anything that KFAI can do to have you come back?
That's funny because I know someone had a meeting and I know it was mentioned like we're trying to do whatever for her to come back. The thing about it is it's very simple. It's the same thing that I be saying to Waltz and Fry and all these people when you talking about fixing this issue. Get to the core. Get the people that are causing the issue out. It's the same thing. Don't talk about policies you're going to be putting in place on stuff after the fact if the people they're still there. You know what I mean? So even, when I left, I was very clear on like who my main issue is with, but they're still there. Like, you know what I mean? They might not be in that same capacity. They're still there. I know that certain people had said they were going to step down and then decide to stay. So they'd have to be here. Let me say this. Okay. I'm going to say this. You, after all of this that happened, right? After all they were called out for, right? They still, and this is nothing against the person, but they still went and elected. The board president was white, a white man, right? Nothing against him, but you would think after everything that happened, you know what I mean, that you would be like, okay, we really got to make sure that we really have BIPOC, at the forefront leadership, whatever, and that still didn't happen. So I mean, I just feel like, and there's things I know that are going on that just let me know until they put the value in like being like, okay, you know what, this might be a hard decision, or this is going to take some labor pains or whatever to deal with this, but we want to make sure we get this right instead of what they normally do and just kind of do the bare minimum and then just try to cover it up. Like it will never be a safe space for me. Which is, I still have a lot of friends that are at that station, you know, but the same people who are causing the issues are still there. So until you get those out, and until I see people like my girl Quinn or something, or Bianca or whatever, or Umar, until I see those folks running it, nah, and that's too bad, because that was my home, right? So it's not. This is
Right.
not like something where I'm like happy that this happened, or like like f. No, like this has been very hard for me to not to be on every single Friday at 6 p.m. That's been very hard for me. You know what I mean? And to not go to that studio, a place that was I looked forward to going to. That was my safe space. So if those things got situated, we can have conversations, but uh, it's not. Yeah.
Well, is there any station that gets it right that you can tell or share?
I mean, I felt like one, like I mean, my first radio home, WFNU. If you know what I mean, I've never had issues, with them.
What is it again? Say it.
94.1 WFNU.
Okay, there y'all go.
But like also, like I said, there are people who are on KFAI still. You know what I mean? Who I
Hmm.
still would like Latina Out Rock, Fresh Fruit, like still shows. I would be like, though there are brilliant voices. You know what I mean? And on there, and that's what makes people like stick around. And those same
Gotcha.
voices call the stuff out. That they did a whole. My guy Umar on his show did a whole show about how they had me messed up on the station.
On their platform. That
Yeah,
now
on the
that's
station.
bold, but that's real like alliance too, though. Like real
Yeah.
support. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I was gonna ask the question too because the thing is like yes, there's these community platforms that is supposed to like represent all members of the community,
mhm,
but they don't always have community representatives in positions making decisions. So
right.
you can have a community platform by
Mhm,
title and it still be like director board of like all white, old heads that are actually, orchestrating the strings. So that's
right.
something that, you have to take into account. All
Mhm.
community and good community.
Even like with this situation, like I mentioned, you have a general manager who's black, but then you have all this white staff and white leadership, and that was one of the things I was trying to explain to people too. I'm like, when you don't have that support either, it's like, you know what I mean? Like you're already up against a wall, and that's what was happening. It was like, okay, I'm gonna go make this change, and then they talk to the upper heads, and all of a sudden to come back, oh no, we're gonna do something completely different. We're like, why the hell did you go talk to them? We told you not to talk to them. We told you, you know. But they're in a position, I feel, of like most like executive directors and general managers, they don't have protection in their position. And I think
Mhm.
that's a lot of what happens, and people let you know you don't have protection, And so I think there's a lot of that going on too. So
So listening to this, it might scare some people away from radio. There's so many young aspiring radio personalities. I've been there. I'm still probably going to work to get on a radio station that, does it right. So for these aspiring radio personalities that are trying to break in like Sly Jones, what advice do you have for them? Because it is a opportunity that can be grand in its own mount, but it also can be something that can be daunting on your mental health when it
right.
is done like your experience with KFAI. So what advice can you give us?
Yeah, I don't think anyone should feel discouraged and stuff to get into radio by my experience. I think for me, I wanted to share it so that people didn't walk in blindly to a situation like I walked into. Um, but I think for one, 'cause I get this question a lot. Usually, it's more like, how do I start a podcast? I get that a lot. You know what I mean?
Really?
I get that a lot. I used to always be like, I don't have a podcast. I don't know. I have a radio show. Like I don't know. I don't know equipment and all that stuff. But I think starting a show, kind of in general, or getting into radio. I think establishing like what do you want your show to be? Like, you know what I mean? Like taking the time to figure out, what is my show going to actually be? Because then when you go apply for a show, like if you're in community radio, you apply for those shows. Those shows. Like I was kind of recruited to KFI, but I still had to go through the audition kind of process and stuff. So you really have to know, I think, like what you really want your show to be, about. Um, and I think, and then just like putting yourself out there. Like I said, I was hanging around WFNU for like 6 months before I actually did a show. And so it was really just about like kind of getting involved, especially if you're going to go the public radio route. I would recommend that, because you have more control over how you want your show, to be.
Mhm.
Um, and so doing that, I would say one advice I do want to share for like women going into radio and stuff, it's like, I know for me, I have to be very like self-aware, very sure, very assertive of
Mm.
like who I am and who I'm not and what I am and will not tolerate you. Because like I said, the field is very male dominated and they will try you. They will
Mm.
try you. They will try you. And I've just had many situations where I had to be like, no, no, this is not.
Mm.
So for women, I'd say that too, for sure, because you would run into that. But I think just establishing your show, don't like, how many radio shows I've done on my phone? People didn't know that. I was sitting there,
Really?
yeah, I was using just my iPhone, the voice memo, and I would just
Yeah.
be in my room. I record a whole show because sometimes shows I might just be me talking. So I record a whole show and send it to the engineer, and they put on the radio. You don't know that I'm just on my phone, but so
And that's how you start a podcast.
and that's my point. It seems like, what, it could be something as simple, you know what I mean, as that, and now you have a show. So I think just like being radio, networking is key.
Mhm.
Networking is key. So like knowing people, that's how, for me, it was like networking, knowing people who are like, hey, I want you to come to KFAI. Your network is like everything. Your network is what's going to keep you, what I'm saying, working. Your network is going to keep bringing you opportunities.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's a lot of different ways, but one way, like here right now, like you see, okay, me, right, Miss Margaret Live, I want to get into radio. Who maybe, how do I start a show, like from the actual concept of a show, or who can I talk to? That's a lot of it. Just kind of the networking process and being like, when you say I want to do a show, this is what I want my show to be, and take time, like take the time, and then just do it. Record on your phone, because that's the hardest part. I always tell people, just do it. For me, it took me 6 months, and then finally, my friend was like, "Girl, just come. Just come to my show, and we're just gonna talk." And then once I did it, I was like, "Oh, this is this is easy." So yeah, but no, I don't want, no one should be discouraged. There's plenty of outlets, you know what I mean? No one should be discouraged from my story. It's just about for me, there were so many people that left before me from that outlet,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to be another person that left and no one knew why. And you know what
Mm.
I mean? And I felt like I owed that to people who I knew would be like, why is she living KFAI? Because I was all about KFAI.
Yeah.
KFAI got a lot of credit about being out there and doing a lot of things
Had the shirt and
that
everything.
they weren't doing. Yeah, I was very about KFAI, KFAI, KFAI. And so but my show and my brand extends that. And that's why I'm learning. Like most people on my fan page didn't even know I had a show. They just knew I was like an activist who was like running my mouth and had access to a lot of different information that people didn't have access to. They didn't even know I had a show. Like they'd be like, they'll message me like, yeah, so what do you do? I'm like, well, why are you, so how did you start following me? You know what I'm saying? That's just my thing. A lot of times you think you need something. You keep yourself there because you're like, well, what would I have if I don't have this? What do I
Mhm.
have if I don't have the audience? What do I have? I'm not gonna have people are people gonna listen to my show, and then I left, and hours later, the opportunity came through that I was blocking myself from because they thought I was, unavailable. So it was like sometimes when you think that you really need something, you really don't. You just have to believe in yourself and take that leap of faith. So,
Sis.
hmm.
So you left. An hour later, another opportunity came. You
Oh,
have a new home. Miss Margaret Live is not dead. Miss Margaret Live is not in vain. You are coming back soon, right? And how?
Yeah.
What's happening? What's boom, boom, boom?
So they're announcing it tomorrow, but they're announcing it tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
They haven't announced it yet. But what I will say is I okay, let me say this. One of the things that I was concerned about was like on my show I'll have like politicians and all that type of stuff, right? And I was like, maybe I won't have that access anymore with leaving this outlet, like but my new office for my show is inside the Capitol. So
Oh, Siren said, feel free to announce it tonight. This is, I hope I'm saying your name right. Siren from there. Say
oh
it.
no, that's
The
serious.
organization is
Oh,
cool with
that's
it breaking here tonight. And in breaking news,
oh,
Miss
okay,
Margaret.
okay. That's the uptake talking. Now I know who you're talking about. Okay, so Miss Margaret Live will now be a featured podcast on the Uptake, which is a media outlet that is
Serene. Thank you for
yeah,
telling me how to say your name.
that's I wish I could say like other like people I know who are about to be on there with me, but it's we're about to take over. Like we're about to take over. So it'll be a featured podcast. One of the reasons why I wanted to go to the Uptake and what sold me on it is because they really prioritize and amplify Black women voices. Most of the reporters and journalists are Black women, and they've been around for a while. And when I had asked people kind of on the community, like, what do you know about this, outlet? Yeah, had my like go to people. Like I'm like, okay, Chantel Allen, like, what do you know? And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh yeah, like that's the one, and they're doing some like real radical reporting. So yes, I can finally announce like a month in the making. But I will be on the Uptake, so I'm really excited. I really wanted an outlet that was going to invest in me. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
not like I like they act like I owe them the content. You know what I mean?
Mm.
A place I was gonna be like, no, we're gonna get behind you and we're gonna actually invest in you and market you and really, you know what I mean? And that was one of the things I wanted. I wanted a place that was gonna invest in me. So I'm like, the kid has been out here, okay? Like I've been out here and I'm tired of feeling like I'm
Yes.
just giving my content away just for free. You know what I mean? Just giving it away, but not getting the things that I deserve to get back. So yeah, so I'm excited about that. I have some really good content coming up as soon as next week. So
Ooh. Okay.
yeah, so I will be back. I might be hitting you up because your intro video. I was like, well, who the hell did that?
Oh, I got you, sis. I got you.
I was like, wait a
His
minute.
name is his name is Hamed. So speaking
Okay.
of, so you said you shared in your previous place, you were not paid for that. You guys were dealing with some stuff and had to go through some emotional, some hostile environments that just was whack.
Yeah.
But here, based on what Miss Serene just said, or based on what Serene just said, they are looking for reporters. Sign me up. News on Purpose. I report. And not only that, we pay and provide free training.
So I didn't know if I could
Winning.
put that part out there, but
Fly.
but that was one of my other requirements because I had a lot of people reach out. I'm still trying to find ways to make it so it can be other places too. But
Mm-hmm.
that was my main thing. I said I don't want to keep doing this for free, like and I feel like as Black women, like why do we have to I always have to humble ourselves, like we don't deserve, you know what I'm saying? To get paid for our work, to get paid for our labor, our content. So yeah, so now finally getting the bag, getting the coin for what I do instead of having to find all these other ways to get it. So yeah, I'm excited because the content that we have come in
Okay,
Yeah.
sis, I'm excited for you and I am so proud of you. Let me tell you that
Thank
I am
you.
proud of you. If don't nobody else tell you tonight in this hour, I am proud of you because I know everybody has told you. But now I have to ask you this. How are
Mhm.
you going to do it different? How is it going to be bigger and better?
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole way the show looks will be different. I mean,
Okay.
I think this is the time now where I want to implement a lot of things I've been saying. I want to implement. You know, the show was like a brief TV show back in like 2016 on SPNN, and then, girl, that's another conversation. Nothing with SPNN. They're amazing. It was the people who were producing. It's a whole nother. Remember, I told you about dealing with men and stuff like that. Yeah, so we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But it's gonna look very different. It's gonna be the same like Miss Margaret Live, but you know, more of a content thing. Um, we'll probably be using StreamYard, so it'll probably look a little similar to this. More interactive, you know what I mean? So it's gonna be bigger, and you'll probably see it grow like as it goes along. You know what I mean? As I'm like, okay, trying to build it and stuff like that.
Yes.
So so I have a lot of things going on like with that and then around it. So I feel like people are gonna see me a lot. Yeah, people haven't seen me for like, you know what I mean? Like see me for a minute. So I gotta catch up.
Okay, sis. Well, I'm so excited for you. You have found a new home. We're excited to see you again. Miss Margaret Live has to be live again. So, sis, any last words to share with everyone? This has been an amazing time with you sitting down, one reporter, one journalist to another, one Black woman, melanated friend to another.
Mhm.
This has been amazing. And what can you say for last remarks to just let everybody know what you about?
I just think my message to everyone and what I've learned from this whole situation is like you are it. Like you are it. Not
Mm,
whatever entity you think that you're tied to, or you know it's like maybe you have something that looks similar to somewhere else or whatever. You are it. You know what I
mm.
mean? You are it. You are enough. You are the seller, and to believe in yourself. And here comes my son.
I need the charger.
Okay. Like, you know what I mean? But that's my whole thing. Like you were it, and that's what I feel like I've gotten from all this is just having to really to believe in myself and be like, Margaret, like you've been here. You
Ooh.
know, so just, you know, when you're at that point and you're like, just know that you are it. You are the gem, you know, and to always stick to that and to stick to whatever your purpose your purpose is.
Living on purposes.
Live on purpose, all that type of stuff. So yeah, so everyone, you know, keep follow me on Facebook because I told you me and Instagram we don't really get along. And I'm
Cash
up
App.
Cash at Miss Margaret Live, Miss Margaret Live, because as you know, I am also like a freelance reporter, stuff like that. So we got a lot coming up in
Yes.
the next week. Trying to prepare for how that's gonna be. So we're gonna be out a lot. So that's what that money, those separate fundraisers, that's what that stuff is for, in case people are wondering or whatever. So, but yeah, I appreciate you always supporting me. You know, like you've been through like two major disappointments with me. You've been through the women's march.
Oh, we didn't even. We got to do a whole. No, we can't
We have
talk
to do a
about that
part
tonight.
two. Well,
We
tonight,
can't talk
but
about
we
that one
went through
tonight. We got
that.
to do a whole nother stream for that.
Yeah. And then we went through then this. So, you know, you've been through some pretty major things in my life that were like, oh my God, how am I going to recover? So I thank you for always just being supportive. You know what I mean? And like every single meeting and message, you're always there. So I really do appreciate it. Like you said, it's so important for women and stuff to link up because it's not enough of us out here, but we do it better. Just saying.
That part. That part. Sis, I thank you so much for coming on. It has been wonderful having you. These are two Black women in journalism that is lifting up one another and just showcasing Black girl magic and Black excellence. And Miss Margaret, that you are. Jeff Walton said, awesome content and show. Thank you, ladies. Sly
Thank
said he's
you.
excited for you. You deserve to be compensated for your contribution. Sis, you are
Hey.
everything. You are every woman. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, everyone. That is my sister, Miss Margaret Live. She will now be going to the uptake. Make sure you check her out. This has been a wonderful time sitting and talking with you. I am so happy that you have chosen to stick and stay and play with your girl with News on Purpose. And this has been a moment in purpose. And you know, I always say, stop living to exist, start living on purpose, and you can do all that and more with News on Purpose. All right. Have yourself a great day.
I can't be way too modest. Just address me, it's your highness. Not daddy, your highness. That fatty, please keep bouncing. Who addy? My apartment, put it to sleep then. See you in the morning. Make breakfast, new checklist. Step 1, go make your money. Step 2, drop all your stresses. Step 3, live young and reckless. Love yourself, fuck fake friends. They hate you? Okay then, act different. They say you change.
Bye-bye.